Imagine a world where one single family, rules over more than 30 modern countries. A world where the roads stretch from the Pacific Ocean to the gates of Eastern Europe, where merchants travel thousands of miles without a single toll, where letters move faster than armies, where scientists, doctors, and artists from China, Persia, and Europe sit at the same table. Now imagine that this world was built, not by centuries of diplomacy, but by the ferocity of horsemen who began with nothing. No palace, no farmland, no treasury. Only the steppe, the wind, and an unbreakable will. This is not a European story. This is not a Chinese story. This is not an Islamic story. This is the story of the Mongols, the largest contiguous empire in the history of human civilization. An empire that killed millions, and yet connected the world. An empire that was born from the ashes of one boy's suffering, and died as all great things do from within. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you will understand why the world you live in today, your spice trade, your postal system, your diplomatic passports, even the plague that wiped out a third of Europe, all of it traces back to a boy abandoned on the Mongolian steppe in 1162. Let's begin. To understand why the Mongol Empire rose, you must first understand what the world looked like before it. The year is the mid-1100s. The Mongolian Plateau, a vast, windswept land of extreme cold and scorching summers, is not one nation. It is a fractured patchwork of nomadic tribes. The Merkits, the Tatars, the Naimans, the Karats, and among them the Mongols. These tribes do not cooperate. They raid each other. They steal livestock. They kidnap women and children. They betray alliances as casually as breathing. Loyalty is transactional. Power belongs to whoever is strongest today, because tomorrow, everything can change. To the south, the great Jin dynasty rules northern China, wealthy, sophisticated, and deliberate in its policy of keeping the steppe tribes divided. The Jin would intentionally stoke rivalries between Mongol and Tatar clans, ensuring no single tribe grew powerful enough to threaten their northern border. This is documented historical fact, recorded in Jin court records. To the west, the Islamic Khwarezmian Empire controls Persia, Central Asia, and stretches toward Afghanistan, powerful and prosperous. Further west still, the Crusades are raging. European kingdoms are in religious war. In this fractured, violent world, in approximately 1162 CE on the banks of the Onon River in what is now northeastern Mongolia, a boy was born. He came into the world clutching a blood clot in his right fist. His father, Yasugei, a minor Mongol chieftain, named the boy Temüjin, after a Tatar warrior he had just defeated in battle. It was a name that meant iron or finest steel. It was a prophecy. But before Temüjin would forge an empire, life would first try to destroy him. And what happened next is where the real story begins. When Temüjin was approximately 9 years old, his father rode with him to find the boy a bride from his mother's tribe, the Okunat. There, Yasugei arranged a betrothal with a girl named Borte, the daughter of Dai Sechin. The match was sealed. On the ride home, Yasugei stopped to share a meal with a camp of Tatars. The Tatars, sworn enemies of the Mongols, recognized him. They poisoned his food. Yasugei died days later. Temüjin was now fatherless, alone, 9 years old. What followed was nearly a decade of destitution. Yasugei's clan, following the brutal logic of steppe survival, abandoned the widow and her children. They could not afford to feed dependents with no powerful man to protect them. Temüjin's mother, Hoelin, a woman of extraordinary resilience, kept her children alive by foraging roots, berries, and small animals. This period is documented in The Secret History of the Mongols, a 13th-century Mongolian chronicle that is our single most important primary source on Genghis Khan's early life. Scholars consider its core narrative reliable, though some details may have been embellished by later Mongol oral tradition. But survival was not the only challenge. Temüjin's older half-brother, Begtur, began to assert dominance over the family, claiming leadership and the right to food resources. One day, Temüjin and his younger brother Kasar confronted Begtur in the open steppe. They killed him. Temüjin was perhaps 13 or 14. He had already learned that on the steppe, hesitation is death. Not long after, a rival clan, the Taikyud, swooped down on the family's camp. They captured Temüjin and placed him in a wooden collar, a kang, a device of public humiliation and restraint. He was held as a virtual slave. He escaped, with the help of a sympathetic guard named Sorkinshira, crawling through a river at night while his pursuers hunted him in the dark. Think about this man. He lost his father at 9. He was abandoned by his clan. He survived poverty on the edge of starvation. He was enslaved. He escaped. He was forged by every hardship the steppe could throw at him. And he was just getting started. Now a young man, Temüjin returned to claim his betrothed, Borte of the Okhanat. Their marriage was formalized. Borte came with a prized dowry, a magnificent sable fur coat. Temüjin used that coat wisely. He gifted it to Togrul, the powerful Khan of the Karait tribe who had been a sworn blood brother Anda of Temüjin's late father. In exchange, Togrul pledged support. Temüjin also renewed his Anda bond with Jamuka, a charismatic Mongol warrior who was his childhood companion. With allies secured, Temüjin began rebuilding. But fate struck again. Barely months after their marriage, a Merkit raiding party swept through camp. They had come seeking revenge for an old grievance. Yasugei had once stolen Hoelin from a Merkit man. They took Borte. Temüjin was devastated. But where other men might have grieved and accepted their loss, Temüjin mobilized. He called in his alliances with Togrul and Jamuka. Together they rode to war against the Merkits and destroyed them. Borte was recovered. She was pregnant. The question of whether Borte's firstborn son, Joki, was fathered by Temüjin or by her Merkit captor is one of the most debated questions in Mongol history. The secret history of the Mongols is deliberately ambiguous on this point. Most historians regard it as unresolvable, though it had significant political consequences for succession, which we will return to. Temüjin's reputation grew. Warriors flocked to his banner, not because he was born powerful but because he inspired loyalty. He was known to reward merit, not just noble birth. He gave captured goods to his soldiers. He adopted orphans. He treated loyalty as a sacred bond, and betrayal as the one unforgivable sin. By contrast, his friend Jamuka represented the old aristocratic order, the idea that birth determined rank. As Temüjin's forces grew, tension between the two men became irreconcilable. They split, and the steppe divided between them. After years of intermittent coalition building and warfare, defeating the Tatars, the Taikyud, the Naimans, and finally Jamuka himself, who was executed with a bloodless death, a mark of honor, broken back at his own request. Temüjin stood alone above the steppe. In 1206 CE, on the banks of the Onon River, likely the same river where he was born, the chieftains of the Mongolian plateau gathered in a kurultai, a grand assembly. They raised a great white banner of 9 tails, the tug, the symbol of Mongol sovereignty, and they gave Temüjin a new name, Genghis Khan, universal ruler, ocean ruler, ruler of all. He was approximately 44 years old. The Mongol Empire had been born. Genghis Khan ruled from 1206 to 1227, 21 years as Great Khan. But make no mistake, his empire was not built on brutality alone. That is the lazy telling of history. The real story is that Genghis Khan was one of the most sophisticated political and military innovators the world had ever seen. Let us begin with his family. Genghis Khan had 4 principal wives and numerous secondary wives, a common practice among Mongol Khans as marriage was both personal and deeply political. His wives commanded their own encampments, their own servants, and, in the case of his senior wives, genuine political authority. His principal wife, Temüjin, bore him 4 sons and 5 daughters. She was his most trusted companion and advisor. Historical records, including the secret history and Persian chronicles, indicate that Borte was consulted on major decisions. She managed the royal household with formidable competence. When Genghis was on campaign, Borte held the eastern flank of the empire's administration. His 4 sons by Borte were Joki, Subutai, Ogedei, and Talyui. His second senior wife, Kalan, was the daughter of a Merkit chieftain. She bore him at least 1 son. His third, Yasujin, and her sister Yesue, were Tatar princesses brought into the household after the Tatar defeat. His daughters, often overlooked by Western historians, were weapons of diplomacy. Genghis married his daughters to allied kings and princes across Central Asia, and crucially required those husbands to serve in his army, leaving the daughters to rule their husbands' territories as regents. This was a brilliant geopolitical strategy. His daughters became governors of proxy states. Now the sons. And this is where the drama begins. Joki, the eldest, whose paternity was disputed as we discussed, was a capable commander. But the shadow of his birth meant Subutai openly refused to accept him as heir. The brothers despised each other. Genghis managed this tension carefully. Subutai was fierce, rigid, and intensely committed to the Yasa, the Mongol code of law. He would become the overseer of law and justice within the empire. Ogedei was Genghis's designated heir, chosen precisely because he was liked by everyone. He was generous, sociable, politically astute, and capable of bridging the fraternal divide. Talyui, the youngest, was the keeper of the Mongolian homeland and his father's most trusted military commander. He led the main Mongol force in many campaigns. He was also the father of Monk and Kublai, names we will return to. Now let us talk about the men who made the empire possible. Subutai, one of the greatest military commanders in all of human history. Of humble origin, not a Mongol noble, he rose through sheer genius. Subutai served Genghis Khan for over 40 years, winning more than 65 battles. He was the architect of the campaigns into Russia, Eastern Europe, Persia, and China. Without Subutai, there is no Mongol Empire as we know it. Jebe, the arrow, a soldier who had actually shot Genghis Khan's horse in battle before surrendering. Rather than executing him, Genghis promoted him for his honesty and skill. Jebe would become one of the empire's most daring generals, leading the great reconnaissance ride into Russia and the Caucasus. Macaulay, appointed as the permanent commander of operations in northern China, given almost autonomous authority, a mark of extraordinary trust. These were not nobles by birth. they were promoted by merit. And that is one of Genghis Khan's most underappreciated innovations. Now, what did Genghis Khan build? First, the Yasa, the Mongol code of law. It outlawed the kidnapping of women. It banned the enslavement of Mongols. It established religious freedom across the entire empire. Every religion was tolerated. It mandated diplomatic immunity for ambassadors. These are not primitive decrees. These are foundational principles that echo in modern international law. Second, the decimal military system. Genghis reorganized his army into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, the Arban, Zun, Mingan, and Tuman. Commanders were chosen by ability, not bloodline. Units were mixed from different clans, deliberately breaking up tribal loyalties and forging Mongol identity above clan identity. Third, the Yam, the postal road system. A network of relay stations across the empire, spaced roughly 30 miles apart, with fresh horses at each station. Imperial messengers could cover over 200 miles per day. This was the fastest communication network on Earth at the time, and it predates the Pony Express by 6 centuries. Fourth, religious tolerance. In an age when Christians burned heretics, Muslims fought crusaders, and Chinese dynasties enforced Confucian orthodoxy, the Mongols taxed nobody for their faith and exempted clergy of all religions from taxation. Nestorian Christians, Buddhists, Taoists, and Muslims all found protection under the Mongol banner. Now the wars. Genghis Khan launched 3 defining campaigns in his lifetime. Against the Xia Western Xia dynasty beginning in 1205 and culminating in a final campaign in 1226 to 1227. The Xia, who controlled modern Gansu and Ningxia, were subjugated in multiple campaigns after they refused to supply troops for Mongol wars. Against the Jin dynasty of northern China, beginning 1211. The Jin, with their great walls and professional armies, were formidable. The Mongols, who had never besieged a walled city before, adapted. They recruited Chinese engineers, learned siege warfare, and deployed catapults, battering rams, and naphtha fire. By 1215, the Jin capital Zhongdu, modern Beijing, fell. The campaign was not yet complete, but the wound was mortal. Against the Khwarezmian Empire, this is the campaign that shocked the world. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a trading caravan of approximately 450 merchants to the Khwarezmian Shah Muhammad II. The governor of Otrar, Inalchuk, accused the merchants of being spies and executed them. Genghis sent 3 diplomats to demand justice. The Shah killed one and shaved the beards of the other 2, a supreme insult in Mongol culture. What followed was total annihilation. Between 1219 and 1221, the Mongols swept through the Khwarezmian Empire in a campaign of such speed and ferocity that chroniclers were left speechless. Samarkand, one of the jewels of the Islamic world, fell. Bokhara fell. Urgench fell. The Shah fled, dying on a small island in the Caspian Sea, alone and abandoned. Populations that resisted were massacred. Those that surrendered were spared and absorbed. The death tolls recorded by contemporary Persian and Chinese chroniclers, sometimes in the tens of millions, are almost certainly exaggerated. Modern historians debate the actual figures, but the demographic impact was catastrophic. Cities like Nishapur and Merv lost enormous portions of their populations. The archaeological and historical evidence is clear. The destruction was real and severe. The precise numbers remain unresolvable with current evidence. In 1227, during the final campaign against the Xia, who had rebelled during the Khwarezmian War, Genghis Khan died. He was approximately 65 years old. The exact cause is contested. The secret history says he fell ill after a hunting accident, possibly a fall from his horse. Some Persian sources suggest a battle wound. One intriguing but unverified Chinese source claims he was killed by the captured Xixia queen in an act of revenge. The ambiguity around his death is deliberate. The Mongols went to extraordinary lengths to conceal his burial place. Tradition holds that those who attended his funeral procession were killed to preserve the secret. His grave has never been found. To this day, it remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. His last command: finish the Xixia. They obeyed. What happens when the man who built the world's greatest empire dies? Do his sons tear it apart? Or do they expand it beyond anything their father imagined? The answer, at least for one generation, is both. After 2 years of regency, during which Genghis's youngest son Talyui governed in the interim, a Kurultai was convened in 1229. As Genghis had designated, Ogedei was elected Great Khan. Ogedei Khan ruled from 1229 to 1241, 12 years. He was warm, generous, and frequently drunk. But do not let that fool you. Under Ogedei, the Mongol Empire tripled. Ogedei's principal wife was Temüjin Khatun, a woman of fierce intelligence and political ambition. She bore him 5 sons, including Gayuk, who would eventually become Great Khan. Ogedei had numerous secondary wives and concubines. His brothers remained powerful. Subutai governed the Central Asian territories, what would become the Subutai Khanate. Talyui, though he died in 1232 under circumstances that some sources describe as him voluntarily drinking a ritual poison to save Ogedei from illness, a story historians debate, had already produced the next generation of great Khans. His sons Monk, Kublai, Hulagu, and Erik Bok would define the empire's future. Subutai, still active, still brilliant, remained the empire's supreme military architect. Under Ogedei, 3 massive campaigns reshaped the world. The final conquest of northern China, the Jin Dynasty, was finished by 1234. The ancient heartland of Chinese civilization had been absorbed. The conquest of Korea, the Korean Goryeo Kingdom, was subjugated between 1231 and 1259 in a grinding series of invasions. The Great Western Raid, into Russia and Europe. This is the campaign that made Europe tremble. In 1236, Ogedei dispatched a massive force westward under the nominal command of Bada Khan, Joki's son, with the military genius of Subutai as the true operational commander. What followed was the most devastating military campaign medieval Europe would ever face. The great city of Ryazan fell. Vladimir fell. Moscow, then a small town, was burned. Kiev, the crown jewel of Rus civilization, was reduced to rubble. Chroniclers recorded that travelers passing through years later still saw bones bleaching in the fields. Poland was invaded. The Teutonic Knights were annihilated at Legnica in April 1241. The Hungarian army was shattered at Mohi days later. Subutai's flanking maneuvers were so sophisticated that modern military historians study them to this day. The Mongols were at the gates of Vienna. And then they stopped. Why, when Europe lay helpless before the greatest army the medieval world had ever seen, did the Mongols simply turn around? The answer arrived from the east. In December 1241, Ogedei Khan was dead. He died of alcoholism, a habit that had haunted him his whole life. He was approximately 56 years old. By Mongol law and custom, All senior princes had to return for a Kurultai to elect the next Khan. Batu and Subutai turned their horses east. Europe never saw them again. After Ogedei's death, his wife Temüjin Khatun served as regent from 1241 to 1246. 5 years of remarkable female political power at the center of the world's largest empire. She dismissed Ogedei's officials, installed her own loyalists, and masterfully maneuvered the Kurultai toward electing her son Gayuk. She is documented in Persian, Chinese, and European sources, including the famous Franciscan friar Giovanni de Pien del Carpine, who visited the Mongol court in 1246 and left a vivid written account. Gayuk Khan was elected Great Khan in 1246. He ruled for less than 2 years, dying in 1248, likely of alcoholism and illness, aged approximately 43. His reign was marked by bitter rivalry with his cousin Bada Khan, the conqueror of Russia. The two men had physically fought during the Western campaigns and despised each other. Gayuk was reportedly marching west to confront Bada militarily when he died. Some historians have speculated, and this is speculation, that Bada may have had him poisoned. There is no conclusive evidence. Gayuk's wife, Ogedei Kamish, served as regent from 1248 to 1251, but she lacked Temüjin's political genius and was outmaneuvered. The succession crisis was resolved when Bada Khan, the most powerful Mongol prince by military strength, threw his weight behind Monk, the eldest son of Temüjin, against the Ogedei and Shagatai factions. Monk Khan was elected Great Khan in 1251 after a brutal internal purge. Many Ogedei and Shagatai princes and their supporters were tried for treason and executed. This was the first major internal crack in Mongol unity. Monk ruled from 1251 to 1259, 8 years. He was disciplined, austere, and administratively gifted, a marked contrast to his predecessor's tendencies toward excess. Monk's principal wife was Onon Khatun. He had several secondary wives. His brothers crucially were Kublai, dispatched to conquer southern China and govern the eastern territories; Hulagu, dispatched westward in one of the most consequential campaigns in Islamic history. Hulagu's campaign against the Abbasid Caliphate in 1258 remains one of the most debated events in Islamic historical memory. The Abbasid Caliphate, based in Baghdad, was the symbolic and spiritual center of the Sunni Islamic world. It had endured for 5 centuries. In 1258, Hulagu's forces surrounded Baghdad. The Caliph al-Mustasim refused to negotiate. The city was stormed. What followed was a catastrophe. The House of Wisdom, one of the greatest libraries in the world, a repository of Greek, Persian, Indian, and Arab science and philosophy, was destroyed. The Caliph himself was executed, reportedly rolled in a felt carpet and trampled by horses, to avoid shedding royal blood directly. The Abbasid Caliphate was over. The Mongol advance west was finally halted in 1260 at the Battle of Ain Jalut in Palestine, stopped by the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt. This was the first decisive defeat of a Mongol army in field combat. The myth of Mongol invincibility was broken. But Monk would not see the empire's next chapter. In 1259, while personally leading the siege of the Diaoyu fortress in China, Monk Khan died, of dysentery almost certainly. He was approximately 51 years old. And what his death unleashed would determine whether the empire would survive. One brother inherits the world. The other declares war on him. The empire that conquered everyone else now begins to conquer itself. When Monk died, 2 of his brothers declared themselves Great Khan simultaneously. Kublai, in China. Erik Bok, in Mongolia. 4 years of civil war followed, the First Mongol Civil War for supreme power. In 1264 Kublai prevailed. Erik Bok surrendered and died in captivity 2 years later, cause unknown. But Kublai's legitimacy was always contested in the Western Khanates. His willingness to adopt Chinese customs and governance was seen by many Mongol traditionalists as a betrayal of the steppe way of life. Effectively, from this moment, the Mongol Empire existed as 4 independent successor states: the Yuan dynasty, China and Mongolia under Kublai, the Ilkhanate, Persia under Hulagu's line, the Subutai Khanate, Central Asia, and the Golden Horde *, Russia and the Western Steppe under Badu's line. They were nominally connected. In reality, they were often at war with each other. Kublai Khan ruled as Great Khan and founder of the Yuan dynasty from 1260 to 1294, 34 years. Kublai's most beloved wife was Chabi Khatun, a woman of extraordinary influence. She was his closest advisor. She advocated for more humane treatment of conquered Chinese populations. She promoted Buddhism, and she designed the distinctive Mongol armor of the period. When she died in 1281, Kublai was heartbroken and never fully recovered emotionally. He had 4 primary wives in total and numerous secondary wives, producing many children. His designated heir, Xinjin, died before him in 1285, another blow from which Kublai never recovered. Under Kublai Khan, the empire reached the apex of its civilizational contribution. The Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace, was at its height. For roughly a century, from the mid-1200s to the mid-1300s, the trade routes connecting China to the Mediterranean were safer than they had been in centuries. The Silk Road was revitalized. Merchants, diplomats, missionaries, scholars, and physicians moved freely. Among them, a young Venetian merchant named Marco Polo, who spent 17 years at Kublai's court and whose account, however exaggerated in places, gave Europe its first detailed look at the Far East. Under Kublai's Yuan dynasty, paper currency was standardized empire-wide, the first large-scale use of paper money in history. Canal systems were expanded, including the Grand Canal of China, enabling massive grain transportation. Astronomy flourished. Kublai established the Bureau of Astronomy, combining Islamic, Chinese, and Mongolian astronomical traditions. Medicine, Persian and Arabic medical knowledge flowed into China. Chinese herbal medicine and acupuncture reached the Islamic world. The exchange was bidirectional. Gunpowder weapons. The Mongols adopted and spread Chinese gunpowder technology across Eurasia, fundamentally transforming warfare across 3 continents. The census. Kublai conducted massive population censuses across China, providing administrative data of a sophistication not seen again in the region for centuries. But Kublai's reign also saw humiliating defeats. Japan, 1274 and 1281. 2 massive invasion fleets were sent against Japan. Both were destroyed by typhoons, what the Japanese called kamikaze or divine winds. Java, 1293. An expedition to Java was repelled by the Javanese king Kurtarajasa, who accepted Mongol help against his enemies and then turned on the Mongol forces as they withdrew. Vietnam, 3 invasions, all ultimately repelled. The Vietnamese used guerrilla warfare, scorched earth tactics, and the brutal climate to exhaust the Mongol forces. These failures revealed the limits of steppe military genius. The Mongols were extraordinary on open land. Maritime and jungle warfare was a different world. Kublai Khan died in 1294, aged approximately 79. He had grown obese, suffered severely from gout, and had increasingly retreated into alcohol after the deaths of Chabi and Jinjin. His grandson Timur Khan succeeded him and ruled until 1307. After Timur, the Yuan dynasty entered a rapid spiral of weak rulers, court intrigue, and economic crisis. Every empire that has ever existed has believed it was eternal. The Mongols were no different. But empires do not fall from the outside. They collapse from within. And the Mongol Empire was already hollowed out long before anyone realized it. The fractures were multiple and interlocking. Overextension. The empire was simply too large to govern as a unified entity with 13th century communication technology. The four khanates drifted into independence, increasingly defined by the civilizations they had conquered. The Ilkhanate became Persian and converted to Islam. The Golden Horde became Turkic and Islamic. The Yuan became Chinese. Succession crises. The Mongol tradition of elective monarchy through Kurultai, brilliant in Genghis's day when all princes were battle-tested warriors, became a catastrophic weakness as generations passed and dozens of princes competed for power. Between 1328 and 1332, the Yuan dynasty had 4 different emperors in 4 years. The Black Death. Modern epidemiological research strongly suggests that the Pax Mongolica, the very trade network the Mongols created, was the highway along which the bubonic plague traveled from Central Asia to China, to the Middle East, and to Europe in the 1340s and 1350s. The plague that killed between 30 and 60% of Europe's population was, in a horrifying historical irony, the child of Mongol connectivity. The plague devastated Mongol-controlled populations too, weakening administrative capacity across all the successor states. Chinese nationalism. In China, drought, famine, flooding of the Yellow River, and economic mismanagement under late Yuan rulers triggered massive peasant rebellions beginning in the 1350s. The Red Turban Movement, a millenarian Buddhist uprising, spread across the country. From its ranks emerged a former Buddhist monk and peasant named Zhu Yuanzhang. In 1368, Zhu's forces captured the Yuan capital Dadu, modern Beijing. The last Yuan emperor Togon Timur fled north to the Mongolian steppe. Zhu Yuanzhang declared the Ming dynasty. The Mongols were gone from China. The Golden Horde fragmented through the 1400s, with the rise of the Ottoman Empire and Muscovite Russia each claiming its territories. The Subutai Khanate splintered into warring factions. The Ilkhanate had already dissolved in 1335 after a succession crisis left no clear heir. One final convulsion of Mongol power came not from the direct line of Genghis, but from a man who claimed his legacy, Timur, or Tamerlane, a Turkic Mongol conqueror from Samarkand who built a new empire across Central Asia and Persia in the late 14th and early 15th centuries. But Timur's empire, too, did not survive his death in 1405. The Mongol moment in world history, that extraordinary, terrifying, transformative century and a half, was over. So what does it mean? What do we do with this story? The Mongol Empire killed, by scholarly estimates ranging from 30 to 40 million people. Cities were destroyed. Civilizations were disrupted. The agricultural heartlands of Central Asia never fully recovered their pre-Mongol population levels. This is not a story we can sanitize. But history is never clean, and the full record demands that we see everything. The Mongols built the first true world system, a connected Eurasian economy, a framework for international diplomacy, a model of religious tolerance that was centuries ahead of its European contemporaries. The Silk Road under the Pax Mongolica transmitted not just goods but ideas. Chinese printing technology moved west, Islamic algebra moved east, and the cross-pollination of these intellectual traditions contributed directly to what would become the European Renaissance. The concept of diplomatic immunity, that messengers and ambassadors must not be harmed, which is today enshrined in the Vienna Convention, has roots in the Yasa of Genghis Khan. The meritocratic principle, that rank should be earned, not inherited, was embedded in Mongol administrative and military structure, influencing the bureaucratic traditions of the Timurid, Mughal, and early Ming empires. And in the Golden Horde's long dominance of Russia, we see the roots of Russian administrative tradition, trade networks, and the very word yam, the Russian word for a postal station, borrowed directly from Mongolian. The Mongol Empire rose from the suffering of one orphaned boy on the windswept steppe. It swallowed kingdoms and continents. It built roads and burned libraries. It killed millions and connected billions of lives across time and trade. It was the last great empire of the nomad, the final proof that the horse and the bow in the right hands could reshape civilization itself. And then, as all things must, it was gone. But its shadow still falls across the world you live in today. Every time a diplomat crosses a border unharmed, every time a merchant ships goods along a Silk Road trade route, every time a scholar in one country reads the work of a scholar from another, they are, in some small and invisible way, living inside the world that Temüjin, the iron boy from the Onon River, made possible. History belongs to no single people, no single continent, no single narrative. The Mongols remind us of that more than almost anyone, and their story is not over yet. This story moved you, share it, because the world needs to know the full record of what humanity has been capable of, in darkness and in light. Subscribe for more forgotten empires, more erased histories, more stories the textbooks left out. The world is bigger than we were taught.